Hello everyone, I'm going to do an unpotting of the phrag I just recently got and do an update on some of the frags, like I said, that I had in the bubbler system that I promised in the last video. So let's get to it. Got my tray here, got the phrag Umelia, and like I said, there's already a slug in there. We don't want slugs. Let's see. Yeah, no. Now this is just a rhizome. As you can see, here's where one of the first fans was at. And look how far this thing has climbed up. So this is really a climbing one. So this is gonna have to be repotted regularly to keep it in the media. Here, then we went to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, and now we're at this stage. So yeah, this one's really gonna have to be kept up on with repotting, otherwise it's not gonna do so well. I'm gonna do some trimming. I keep all my tools, I keep it covered. They're in alcohol. I keep this in the grow room so it doesn't evaporate, and when I'm ready to use it, I take off the lid. Everything's ready. I have tweezers in there, small little scissors, some nice heavy-duty shears, a razor. So we're gonna get rid of this part of the rhizome. We don't really need that. And now we can get it down into the pot nice and deep, and we'll go from there. This stuff is okay. I mean, I'll try and clean up this a little bit. These roots, I'm not that picky with these. I mean, they're hard, they're dead. I'm not really, it's okay. These ones are still slightly alive, but as you can see, there's really no growing tip on any of these. The growing tip is actually dry. So it's actually just this part here that is probably sustaining this plant just a little bit. You can tell the way the leaves look too that it's dehydrated. They're curling, they droop. That's what frags do, because they have no water storage units. The leaves are the storage unit. So that's how you could tell when your frag really needs water, is they should be more perky. They'll have a slight bend sometimes because they get heavy. Otherwise they should be firm and nice and perky. Okay, I'll just set this down on the floor, and I'll come to my media. Once again, I'll be potting into my little solo cups that I just burned some holes in the bottom. And my media, I'll move that aside. My media is lava rock, small lava rock, fir bark that is actually made for reptiles from the pet store. And the reason why I use this is because it contains a large amount of natural tannins. In the beginning days when I first start using this fresh bark, it really does leach a lot, and you can tell because the water will turn brownish orange, and as it flushes out, it eventually goes away. This is what I use for all my orchids. I don't use orchiata. I mean, that stuff is nice. I'm not downing it or anything like that, but I actually put it in one of the videos on my channel that they actually decompose orchiata bark, which is a fir bark, a pine bark, to kind of remove some of the tannins. And everyone's doing these tea treatments on their orchids, and it's like, why go through that extra process when I could just use raw bark and it will give me that process? Now, yes, you see this bark is kind of soft, but you know what? I repot regularly. I only have maybe 50 orchids or less. I'm not too worried about repotting. It's actually a fun thing to do, I feel. Otherwise, what are you doing? You just come in here and look at your orchids and then walk out? No, you want to get your hands dirty every once in a while. The orchiata, like they say in the video, they talk with greenhouses and to see how long it lasts, and some are reporting 10 years. but that's for greenhouses that have thousands of plants that don't want to have to repot thousands of plants every year. So, you know, this cheap bark, it's like $9 for let me see, 24 quarts of dry weight bag. I mean, to me, that's a decent price. It's good. It actually, that's one of my main things that I pot my phals in, because it encourages roots like crazy. I'll have to do an update on my phals. I keep saying that, but I want to show you 2 rescue phals that a friend is having me rescue for them, that basically had one little root on them, and now they have tons of roots pushing out. And these were given to me in November. I live in Wisconsin. It gets cold outside. They stay in the grow room here. I get the 8 hours only of sunlight, obviously, as everyone else in this part of the hemisphere. And they're pushing out roots and growths like crazy. So, you know, people that say, you know, everything shuts down, I don't really believe so. It's just, are you giving it the heat? Are you giving it the conditions that it likes? Then it will kind of make do with what it has. I mean, unless you're keeping it in a dark box. But anyways, back to the, I'm getting long-winded here. Back to the phrag. So anyways, the mix is made of lava. I'll say 2 parts lava, 2 parts lava, half a part of diatomaceous earth, which is this stuff. It's kind of like perlite, and half a part of the bark. Because I keep my frags more moist, I don't want things that are gonna break down and maybe decompose as much in there. It's good to some extent, but like I said, because I keep my frags sitting in water, and I do daily flushes, I tend to go with more of a how do they say, not inorganic mix. So I'll just put some in the pot. Get this down in there. We want the base of the plant to be covered by the media, and just backfill it in. I probably could put it more closer to the edge here because it's spreading this way, so that's what I'll do. And that's basically it. So that one's ready to go into the bubbler system if I want to. But I'm confident that it has them roots. Them roots will branch. I've seen frags branch. A lot of people say dendrobiums don't branch, cattleyas don't branch, frags don't branch. I think the plant is meant to survive, so it's gonna make do with what it has to survive. And if that's making a root branch, it will. I've seen it, I've seen it even on YouTube. Many people say, oh look, this cattleya branch, but then you see it on other channels. These types of roots don't branch and this and that. Like I said, the plant is made to survive. It will do what it has to do to survive. So that one is ready to go. Now I'll move this out of the way and I'll give you the update on the Schlimmii that I showed you guys with my secret weapon, the bubbler. It had no roots. It is from Equigenera. One thing I do notice, I keep the water level actually pretty high. So the base of the plant is basically right aligned with the top of the mix. I keep the water level about right here because I want the plant sitting in water, because that's how they grow. They need that moisture, that humidity for them roots. And then once the plant starts to establish, then I slowly ease the water level down so that it can seek the water out. Like, I'll show you this, the green hornet. All these roots, this thing had no roots. Now look at them. Look at them coming out the bottom of the pot, seeking the moisture. Now I only keep the water level to about here so that the humidity can rise. As you can see, the droplets of water. But every time I give this thing water, I flush it through the top and let the water go down to the basin and keep only a little bit at the bottom. And that's how I keep them, so that they get the daily flushes. The bubbler system for me was at a point in time when I really didn't want to do daily flushes and couldn't. But it also, like I said, does highly oxygenate the water, so it is good for rejuvenating. Right now, I can flush my orchids daily. I get home from work at a decent hour. I have nice daylight, and I can come out here and pour some water in my orchids. That's no big deal. I have 10 frags that need it daily. That's not a big deal. But for people who are a little bit more busy or have a hectic lifestyle or something like that, or want a little less hands-on, the bubbler system is a really good thing for keeping that water from going stagnant. Now, the phrag Schlimmii, just dump it out. Now, don't get me wrong, these roots aren't dead, but they aren't good either. But if you look here, I have a root tip. Now this is just within a week or a week and a half or two or something like that. I got a root tip here already coming, root tip here coming. On this new growth, there's a tip right there coming. These other little growths that were there are starting to push a little bit. I did eventually cut off these the flower spikes because I just wanted to see what the flower looked like. So I cut them off so that the plant can start throwing some of the energy back down into the new growth and the root production. So, you know, maybe it's just a coincidence, but the bubbler system that I described in one of my earlier videos, to me it works. And I don't know if you want to give it a try. I know Michael from Michael's Orchids is giving it a try right now. Let's just follow along and see what happens. I'll just pot this one back up real quick. And I do think I'm gonna top these off with a little bit of moss too, because I'll show you why with the next plant. That the top part, the top layer, is kind of staying a little bit dry. So I just want that moss to kind of catch that evaporating humidity and let them roots kind of poke their little heads out and say, hey, I can jump into that and get started. So I'm gonna top off the plants with just a hair of moss. And I'll show you. Now this moss I'm not too thrilled with. Normally I get the New Zealand moss that comes in the orange and green and clear package. I love that stuff, it's nice. This stuff I needed in a pinch, so I kind of went to my local little garden center and got it. It will work, it will do what's necessary, but it's really kind of flimsy. So I really do recommend that New Zealand stuff. And I'll just put it like that, just to, like I said, help catch that humidity and encourage them roots to pop out. I'll set that one aside. When I first started with frags, I used to put moss and bark in the mix, because the grower that I got my first frag, the Schroederite,